Hey everybody, hello there. What camera do I have going on here? This one. Okay, and you can't see Fox either. You know what? We're just gonna
And I
go.
still can't see you.
I know things are wild right now, everybody. You can't hear or
It's a
see
crazy
Fox
time.
probably, because what I need to do is go to this one, and now you can see Fox, but not me.
The way it always was
The way it
supposed to
should be.
be.
Okay, so nope, not that. Your bed has a black,
The
black
headboard.
headboard and everything. And so it's just barely blending into the background over here, which is making it look like your bed is kind of floating in midair on the black background in here anyway, but it's fine.
I've got one of those new hover beds.
Man, I've been wanting one of those for a while. I hear they're great for
Yeah.
your back. So, okay. So there's that. Now then, why is my depth sketch? My depth sketch never works. Okay, well, first we're going to do this. You go away. And now we're going to do... Hey, chat. Welcome. Sorry that this is terrible. Hey, okay. No, pre-show discussion for you, if whoever we got in the chat here, and then for you, Fox. You and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but
Yeah.
does Tears of the Kingdom make Breath of the Wild less fun? Because it is the same game, but with more stuff, does it essentially just make Breath of the Wild less fun? Hey, there I am. Okay. Well, we got me for the actual stream, which is good, but still not
Does it
for you,
make it
Fox.
less fun? I mean, it'd be hard for me to say I haven't played Breath of the Wild since, I played it hundreds of hours when it came out.
Right, but I mean, in general, like just
I understand what you I
considering the
understand what
thought.
you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I could understand that impulse though, that it is very similar. Like the map is obviously in enhanced, different new locations, flying islands, you got the
Right,
depths,
right.
which is the kingdom, but the map is largely the same. It's not an entirely new world to explore like Breath of the Wild gave us. Uh and yeah, the powers you have in Tears of the Kingdom kind of just feel like enhanced versions of what you had previously in Breath of the Wild to a certain extent. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have the time reverse or whatever it was called, or whatever it's called, which is a little different, but
Chat, you're gonna get a
I,
weird thing real quick. Ignore this chat.
it definitely feels. I would say Breath of the Wild is not made obsolete or not worth it. It's still worth playing, but I would definitely say play them in order. Uh, but yes, it does feel this is kind of why I mean, maybe this is why I'm a little disappointed with Tears of the Kingdom. Not as a game. As a game, it's incredibly fun,
Right.
but largely Zelda tends to, between games, make huge change not huge changes, but just bring you something pretty hey, I
Hey,
see you
I fixed
now.
it.
Tends to make pretty big changes. You get something. I mean, obviously the difference between Breath of the Wild and, I mean, I guess the previous big Zelda was the 3DS one. If I'm not out of order there, maybe Skyward Sword. I can't remember, but like that's why I'm a little disappointed. Is that Tears of the Kingdom feels a little like just improving on the formula that's already been invented rather than shaking up the formula. Which again doesn't make it a bad game. It just
No.
makes it a little like, oh, okay. Well, I kind of feel like I played this already, and that also might be because I prefer the sandbox elements of it are really fun. I like a little more of a directed. I don't know. There's just that's the difference between the two to me, is that the Tears of the Kingdom gives you, hey, here's a challenge, here's tools to complete that challenge. Figure it out. And Breath of the Wild did that a little bit, but Breath of the Wild had like the puzzles were a lot more like the open world puzzles were a lot more specific, I
Right.
guess,
Like
or
you use
less open
crayon, like
ended.
reuse Chronix for this, or hey, here's the puzzle. There are metal things around. You know it must be
You're gonna need
magnesis.
those.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's, I guess, I'm just a little disappointed by the and it feels weird to say it, but lack of improvement, lack of creativity.
Farmer Daniel's asking, do we feel robbed because of it? Like, do we feel like we are not getting what we paid for? Like, is this just a glorified DLC, I guess? I'm going to go ahead and say no to both, actually, because here's really what I base a lot of my money spent on. If I go to a movie and I spend $40 for my wife, myself, and a soda or a popcorn or whatever, or I guess 50 for soda and a popcorn or whatever, and I sit down and I enjoy myself for 2.5 hours, I consider that worth it. It was a highly enjoyable, super fun experience for $50. Then if I spend $20 extra and I get Tears of the Kingdom and I play this for 120 hours and have an equal amount, if not more fun for every second comparison, isn't that just a higher value across the board there? Like, and in the same way with if I were to go back and play Breath of the Wild is still fun. Like it's still highly enjoyable. Yes, it's Tears of the Kingdom minus. It absolutely is that, but it also informs Tears of the Kingdom, and it's Tears of the Kingdom different map. Like Tears of the Kingdom in a lot of ways feels like Breath of the Wild DLC, but it's so good and so large. It is that extra 100 hours of enjoyment, and so yes, it's incredibly similar, and yes, it makes Breath of the Wild less fun because by comparison it is. But here's really, and I'm going to talk about this more in the actual podcast later. Farmer Daniel says, "Nah, you're right." Here's exactly how I'm comparing the amount of fun that I'm having in all of this. Is Resident Evil 4 is an incredibly good, super fun game. It is outstanding. It is the best of that Resident Evil genre so far. Like, it is crushing it. And every time I sit down, I don't want to play Resident Evil 4 because I want to play Tears of the Kingdom.
Sure.
It doesn't even compare. Like, it's not, there isn't a time when I'm like, sometimes Resident Evil 4, sometimes, no. Resident Evil 4 is gone from my brain now, and what is dominating is Tears of the Kingdom. Like, that's the amount of fun that these games are. So if one is an 11 out of 10, and the other one is a 9.5 out of a 10, that's still really, really good.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where it is that it really is only if you feel the need to compare the two, which you're going to do inevitably. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do.
Right.
I think that's my disappointment, is that you can compare Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask in some ways, but the experience of playing them is so very different, and the stories are so different, and the tone, and there's individual parts of it that are so memorable in each one, that even though, yeah, technically Majora's Mask is a direct sequel to a certain timeline of Ocarina of Time, as we talked about a month ago, yeah. It doesn't feel the same. Like, it doesn't feel like you're just saying which one is better. You're saying, hey, here's why each one is really cool. Whereas with these two, I feel like they're so similar that it just feels like it's so much easier to say this one's better because of this, because it just feels like I was saying last night when we were playing Grounded, that it kind of feels like at here X day, X year, 20 whatever, Nintendo said, we want to create Tears of the Kingdom, but it's going to take X number of years to do, and that's going to be a long time. And so let's release Tears of the Kingdom, but with the abilities in it to a lesser degree, and with the map with less things in it. It's just going to be the surface of Hyrule. There won't be the Sky Islands and the depths. And we'll release that in a couple of years with the real goal of being Tears of the Kingdom. Which is crazy because Breath of the Wild became one of the greatest games of all time. Right. It was incredible. It blew everybody's minds. And so to then release another game that says, like, this is even better, feels a little it just feels like, oh, I don't know. That's kind of how it feels like based on how similar they are, which is why I'm disappointed. I wish there was something that they went in a completely different direction with, because that's typically what Zelda does,
Yeah,
especially in like
typically.
art style, or
But
you know,
they made, again, arguably the greatest game ever made. It redefined the genre of open world, especially this open
yeah.
world adventure type game. It is the reason Elden Ring exists, and in my opinion, Elden Ring is, arguably the greatest game ever made. But Elden Ring doesn't exist without Breath of the Wild. Like, it just does not even compare. Like, doesn't even get to where it is without Breath of the Wild. I will fight you on Elden Ring. It's spectacular.
It is very, it's very good. It's not the greatest game of all time because it makes no sense.
Kingdom, and I'm like, yeah, but I could also be playing Elden Ring sometimes because that DLC is coming out soon, and I'm real looking forward to it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's everywhere. Roy Kent. So, but like, they didn't do a bad by releasing Breath of the Wild and then Tears of the Kingdom. It only feels that way because Tears of the Kingdom is just better. Like,
it ultimately feels like they just chomped their own flavor. Like it feels like they just kind of said, we didn't, that one's good, but here's something better, rather than going in a different direction. And just, it doesn't feel as though the development team of Zelda challenged themselves to make in the way that previous Zelda games did. That is not to say that it's not a challenge to make Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
That the systems in it, the open world sandbox systems, being able to attach things and all the physics related things and all of that is incredibly technically difficult, apparently, based on what I've read. Like, I don't want to diminish that at all. What I'm saying is, from a creative direction, I find the leap between, the change between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, or between Majora's Mask and, what was the next one? Wind Waker?
Right.
Yeah, Wind Waker. Like, the changes between them are much more creative to me and more risky. Wind Waker was lauded, or was mocked when it was
for being all childish and whatnot.
It looked like this is a game for babies because it looks like and now it's held up. It's considered an incredibly good game. And so that's why I'm disappointed. Not because Tears of the Kingdom itself is bad, but because it feels like the safe play. Although I do feel as though the story of this one is much more interesting now. Like, I love, the best part of it to me is the story.
Okay, so
because it's the most unique part of it.
First of all, Farmer Daniel says they took the easy way out, and Darkside STG says it feels more like a continuation rather than a new creation. And I'm not going to disagree. Oh, by the way, looks like we got some followers in between streams. So thank you, by the way, to KC Panda King and Star Patron. Thank you both very much.
You got the Panda King?
I got the Kansas City Panda King.
The Kansas City Panda King.
Exclusively that one, but no, but so okay, I'm not disagreeing with y'all, but is this because we have these expectations of Legend of Zelda? Because let's take a look at God of War. God of War and then God of War Ragnarok, incredible games, but built in the same system. You visit a lot of the same places, and the same places look different than they did before, but it's still some of the same realms. A lot of the basic same, building blocks there. The story continuation is incredible, spectacular. I was in tears in both games. No, the Legend of Zelda of the series is not. The story is not in comparison to God of War, but why is this like? Why can't we just call this a sequel and say this sequel is a spectacular continuation of the previous game? Because it is. It's literally a sequel. Same story, same character, same everything. Why is
a couple same characters?
Right. Why is it that this feels more like a cheap way out than us just accepting that it's a sequel? Because again, I'm not disagreeing with you. The question is, why do we feel this way instead of just saying it's a sequel? This is what sequels are like.
I would say that it is more of a spiritual sequel, even though it is very direct. Let me make the compare. Let me explain that. If we're going to compare to God of War, that is a direct continuation of the story. It literally picks up where the previous game left off. If you include the little time skip thing.
No, I get you. They didn't completely resolve.
They did not resolve the story. Okay, they resolved the conflict being the big conflict of that game, but the overall story
That's a very good point.
was not intended to be done, and it was always intended to be part one of a 2-part series. Whereas this Breath of the Wild, if you play no other Zelda game, you've completed that story. You have witnessed the entirety. You defeated Calamity Ganon. The game is done. And so it feels like they just, again, I don't want to diminish the work of the hundreds of thousands of talented people who were like, that is not what I'm trying to do here. I don't want to say that they were lazy. They are not lazy. That is a very derogative way to talk about people
Absolutely.
who put
Hard,
their life, their
artists.
work into this incredible game.
Yeah.
But it is not the same as a sequel to me. It feels like a spiritual sequel that directly uses assets and stuff from the previous game. Because the story, I mean, the Zelda itself, every game, if we could say every game is a sequel to the previous one.
Go watch our pod. If you missed it, go watch our pod.
Right.
Watch our podcast, Legend of Zyro.
Because ultimately, it's about
this
cyclical heroes. This is every time you're defeating Ganon, or some version of Ganon, Demise, or whatever it is. So I would not say that this doesn't. It's not a sequel. The story was finished at the end of Breath of the Wild, and then in this new one, you're exploring the castle, and you come across another villain, who is also Ganondorf / Ganon, I guess. And I'm nowhere near the end of the story, but I'm sure there's some connection there, some explanation. But so it's not the same as a sequel.
By the way, Darkside here says there's nothing wrong with a sequel. It's just unexpected within the realm of the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Absolutely fair. And I think your point is very, very true also, Fox, just saying that it's not really a sequel in as much as it's continuing the story. It added and created a new story in the same world.
Right.
So that's a really, really good point. It is. And also, I do want to mention the fact that, sure, we got the Panda King from Kansas City, but Darkside is in our chat right now. Like the ruler of Apocalypse, Darkside is in our chat right now. So welcome, Lord Darkside.
This better be it. We're gonna get those Omega beams if we don't do a good job at our podcast today.
All right. Speaking of podcasts, we need to actually podcast here. Hey, chat. Thank you for the conversation leading up to this. Stick around because we're going to be podcasting. And while we're podcasting, we are not Darkside. Oh, he's got his spelled differently. That's right. He's got his spelled correctly.
He's not Darkside then.
Right. That's a very good point, Darkside. Apologies. But we're going to be podcasting here, which means that while we're podcasting, we are not going to be interacting with the chat. We are going to be having a conversation. But post-podcast, we are going to be coming back and reading every comment you had and going over them. And so stick around and talk in the chat as if we're going to respond at that moment, because we will, again, go back afterward and hit every single point that you all bring up and continue that conversation. So with that being said, though, Fox, are you ready to record a podcast?
I believe so.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, who's got the intro today?
I don't know. You do.
I have the pre-intro. Okay, you got the actual
just
intro.
Decided that.
And then because you had the idea for the opening topic, so I'm gonna let you do. Okay. So I have written down the AI revolution. A good thing or a bad thing? Is that too big? Am I overstating it there?
Oh no, let's bring it down to can
hey Hasbullah,
the future of gaming is AI. Is that necessarily a bad thing?
Oh, that's good. I like that. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
In 3, 2. Today on the Nerdy Gritty, the future of video gaming is AI. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Are you doing the little intro?
No, you said you have the intro today.
You have a button that plays the theme song.
Oh, that one. Oh, I totally forgot about that. You're right. Hang on. Hey, okay, let's do this again. Ready? I forgot that we have that really cool thing.
You're so bad at this.
I am. I know. Okay, let's try again.
wish Darkseid was in the real Darkseid is in the chat.
No!
Destroy you right
no
now.
Omega beams, please. Okay, ready? As above, you came just as I was being stupid, so good job. In 3, 2, today on the Nerdy Gritty, the future of video gaming is AI. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, they make some man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. My dialogue is being generated by AI, and I am Des.
I am part of the anti-AI revolution. I'm the pro Dune future.
You are
I'm the Kuzak Haderach.
you are against what starts with I that could be like robot, like
Against intelligence. That's me.
I was about to say something that
Self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say you're
is probably
against
not a good thing to say on like it'll just make people mad if I say it, so never
All
mind.
right, that's fair.
I'm not gonna say. Okay, so about who is also against intelligence. That's what I was gonna.
Hey, shut up. So
Yeah.
recently, by recently I mean
Why
like
does
last
everybody
year.
tell me that?
You know Power Wash Simulator, one of the a simulator that took the world by storm, allowing you to casually and just clean the environments you're placed in, a house, a playground, other places. Really fun,
Super
actually.
satisfying. Yeah,
I spent a while playing Power Wash Simulator, just finding all those little nooks and crannies. It was a lot of fun. Well, since then, since it's come out, there have been special level packs that have been released for
so
it.
good.
The first one that came out was a Tomb Raider special pack, which was, I think, mostly the Croft Manor.
Right.
You could clean Lara Croft's house.
Which, if you ever played, I think it was Tomb Raider 2, in which
Yes.
the training area was the
Classic.
Croft Manor. But there were some
Classic.
areas that had like moss climbing up it and
Yeah.
vines, and you got to clean that stuff off, yo. Come on.
Right,
Let
you
that
got to
get into the
trap the butler in the
grout.
walk-in
In
freezer.
the freezer.
And then oh man, so classic. They even referenced it
They
in
do,
one
yeah.
of the newer Lara Croft. Anyway, then there was the Final Fantasy VII remake themed pack, the Midgar special pack. Got to clean parts of Midgar.
Of all the things that need to be washed, Midgar is
well,
up
yeah,
there,
especially
for
especially
sure.
on the lower city. Yeah.
Right.
Then there was the SpongeBob SquarePants special pack.
Oh, I didn't
Which-
see that one.
I'm not sure how a pressure washer is really going to work underwater.
They
But-
spill things underwater.
That's true.
Like,
And
that
they
happens all
they
the
light
time.
campfires and everything.
Yes.
So it's just some kind of physics thing. I don't know what's going on. Then it was recently announced that coming later this year will be the Warhammer 40,000 Warhammer 40K special pack, where you will go to the grimdark future of Warhammer 40K and just wash everything, and everything is covered in gut and blood.
Gut and bloods. Gut and bloods.
Blood and
You know
guts.
all
You
the-
will.
Gut and bloods are what aliens spew when you shoot them.
Gut and Blood sounds like the like a mid '90s like comedy game where you play as a pair of aliens who are here, and it's just a platformer, and it's just supposed to be funny, but it's really not funny.
No, Gut and Bloods. Oh no,
Gut
yes,
and
it
Bloods-
is a
Gut
platformer
and Blo-
comedy game. Yes,
It's a
100% yes.
yeah,
But
it's like a
also-
Gex, but before
Yes.
Gex.
I was also gonna say, or Earthworm Jim style. stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
But I was gonna say, it sounds like the elite orcs 40K like core,
The Gut and
like,
Blood
yeah,
squad.
We're the Gut and Blood squad.
Love
And
it.
like it was totally on accident, and then they were just like, no, just stick with it. Like,
No, don't worry about it. It's embarrassing if we say it as an accent. So what we need to answer now, what we need to come up with is what else in the world of video games needs to be pressure washed,
Also,
or maybe
hey,
other stuff too. That's fine. but
chat/listeners, let us know what other things Gut and Bloods would be. What else should be called Gut and
Hashtag-
Bloods? I like that.
Gut and Blood.
Hashtag Gut and Bloods.
Yeah. What else needs that good pressure washer treatment in the world of video games.
I had an immediate like answer to this. When you sent me this idea, I was like, obviously, the world of The Last of Us.
Oh,
There's literally
Sure,
contagious mushrooms everywhere.
yeah, that's true.
You gotta get that stuff. There are times when you see like a human body stuck to the wall and then
Yeah.
like mushrooms. Get that stuff off the wall,
This is
y'all.
unsanitary.
Yes, come on. Like just like you're in a hazmat suit and you're walking around, and it would make sense why nobody would shoot you. Like nobody would want to hurt you or anything like that because you're going around just helping everybody.
You're out there on the front lines.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. So
And I bet your pressure washer would just cut a clicker right in half. Like those things can get us a pretty high PSI.
they really can. And
Hey, you know what other game is super gross and has moments and gameplay elements where things get real grimy and yucky?
what's that?
Death Stranding.
Oh man.
We need to get into
You're
Death
literally
Stranding.
throwing grenades of feces and urine.
You're throwing poop grenades and pee grenades all over the place. Your own blood is used for
Ugh.
stuff.
You
Like
gotta
it gets
clean
real gross
that up.
when you fight Higgs in those big fights. There's just a sea of gross muck.
Yeah.
You go to the World War I trenches. It's just disgusting there. It makes no sense. It also is disgusting. But I really think like there should be a couple levels. Maybe you get
Conan
you're cleaning.
O'Brien's there.
He's
gotta
there.
clean that up.
We all know he's disgusting. We gotta clean Conan O'Brien. We gotta clean you clean one of like the bases where you go in and there's like the those you walk in and you gotta go through 50 menus to get to another menu.
Obviously.
I think the biggest level in that one though, we need a giant anatomically correct Norman Reedus. That you're gonna spend some time just really cleaning this guy out.
Intricately every nook and cranny, every crack and crevice, spraying him down.
Everything, like he just gets gross in those
This turns
games.
out-
Like it's
just
literally
like
a
in-
gameplay element that he gets gross, and
Just
you
like-
you got to spray this guy down.
In Tears of the Kingdom, where it turns out that Ascension was just the dev tool that they let players use, this was Kojima's like personal game that he created of spraying down
Yes.
Norman Reedus, and now he was like, you guys can play it too. It's actually pretty fun. Here you go. I
Yeah,
made this
Norman
just for
Norman
myself.
Reedus eventually is like, "Hey, why'd you need full body scans of me? They weren't in the game. Most of it was censored. Nothing. Anyway, bye." Maybe this will just be what Death Stranding 2 is.
There's some haunted devs out there like you have no idea what I had to make, guys. The physics. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
need to
gosh.
power wash Norman Reedus now.
no! In the same world, like same like sort of like style of Warhammer 40K, I was recently thinking Gears of War.
Oh yeah,
Specifically because you have a chainsaw gun. You're
Yes.
running out there, you're just like jamming chainsaws into these things, and like gore is spraying everywhere, all over the place. And can you imagine, like, everything has that like dirty brown filter? You would be the one to take that away. You'd be going away, and you'd cleaning
reveal how beautiful the world
yeah,
is.
and then now the world's suddenly in color, and like it just looks normal now, and not like there's this haze of pollution everywhere. And also,
Yeah, no-
when you shoot a locust in the head, it pops really in a real satisfying way, but it also pops big time for sure.
Grind. Wait, hold on. No, please don't grind.
Boom!
This is-
Oh,
this
boom!
is-
Oh! Stop it, please!
Yeah,
Oh, man.
there's. I mean, Stray would be fun to power wash. I think,
Oh,
but you
yeah,
play as a
Stray's
cat
good
with
one.
a cat with a power washer.
A pat with a cower washer, man. You got,
I don't know.
you're-
I don't know what's up with my spoonerisms today.
Oh man. Well, that's what we got. Hey Fox, what do we got in the world of news today?
Good news. Martin Scorsese's making another Jesus movie.
Yeah, yay.
You know how everybody loved The Last Temptation of Christ.
Right, how popular that was.
You know how popular
Yep.
with everybody it was, and how he definitely didn't get death threats, and there wasn't a bombing because of it or anything.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Yeah, that didn't happen. So there was an interview that apparently at some point the Pope made some kind of he made an appeal to artists in some capacity. Because in this Hollywood Reporter article, let's see, Martin Scorsese says, "I responded to the Pope's appeal." Oh, it's an article, but it's in an interview with a.
Hang on, the Pope asked for this movie. Is that what's being said? Right
No.
now?
I think in general the Pope appealed to artists. In some,
Okay,
what I'm saying is,
okay.
he made an appeal to artists in some way. I would imagine it'd be some kind of, get back to truth or honesty, or something the Pope would like, something like that. Invading other nations to spread the gospel, things like that.
Right.
I responded to the Pope's appeal to artists the only way I know how, by imagining and writing a screenplay for a film about Jesus, and I'm starting to make it, and I'm about to start making it. So I'm very excited for this because
what did he say? Anything specific?
We don't have any details yet. Martin Scorsese's first Jesus-esque movie was Last Temptation of Christ, famously controversial because it depicted Jesus as essentially imagining himself giving into his temptations. It depicts him like having sex and things like that.
Right.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I don't know if it. I mean, I'm sure. I think people love it. I think it's considered a good movie, but it was very controversial. He made a movie about the Dalai Lama, or one of the Dalai Lamas at one point. And he made that movie Silence a couple 7 years ago, 2016, I think. Yeah. So he is no stranger to talking about like faith and religion in his movies, but really what he really thrives in, what he really makes movies about is gangster films.
Right. That's
mafiosos,
what he's most known for. Yes.
Heavy violence. And so what I really think this new Jesus movie should be is both. I want the Gospels depicted as a mafioso crime, like a crime drama, but Jesus is like the head of the family.
No, I was gonna say you could come at it from the side of like the Roman centurions or even the Sanhedrin. Like the Sanhedrin is like a mafia circle, and like Caiaphas is there like, you gotta make Jesus an offer he can't refuse. Like
what? No, I want Jesus. I want it all to be like the classic mafia movie like tropes, but still with the ethic of Jesus, still with the moral ethical, of Christianity. So it's like we're gonna send a message to our enemies, and it's them like being kind to their enemies, and it's like we're gonna wash their car, wash their house, whatever. We're gonna pressure wash their house in a new video game, things like that. It'd just be a series of jokes about how Martin Scorsese's movies have nothing really to do with the ethical understanding of Christianity.
No, it's all art, like quote unquote, like that. He's making it for the sake of art. Yeah.
No, Martin Scorsese makes great movies.
Right,
I just want a joke. I just want to make a comedy about Jesus being the head of a crime family, but instead of crime, it's just like, turning the other cheek.
Man, can you imagine like one of the disciples coming back and being like, I spoke,
and they're all
today,
very stereotypical Italians.
Messiah. Hey, Messiah, come on.
Hey.
It's what everybody wanted Mario to sound like. But Jesus to like look at him and be like, you go to him. And you go to him with his family there. And you sit him down in front of his wife and his daughter. And you serve them all some food. You tell them how much they are loved. Well, Fox, in much more predictable news, hey, you know Diablo 4, right? You've seen.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing it.
Well, sorry to hear
so far
that.
it sounds like it's right up my alley.
Cool. Hey, there's people already getting kind of in the beta and whatnot, and you know what's already there? Microtransactions.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
everybody
cool. Yeah.
hates it already.
I'm sure. Isn't it a single? I mean, it's a co-op game, but it's not like a multiplayer. Is it just like we know this is boring, so pay to not have to do it?
It's cosmetics, and not just any cosmetics, but there was like an armor set for $30. A $30 cosmetic upgrade. One of the comments here is, oh dang it, I just lost it. Oh, this game better cure my anxiety before I fork over the amount of money I pay on my prescriptions before I get a paper doll upgrade.
I mean, I'm not really like sure that's bad, I guess, but also I could just not pay for it, and I'll definitely not do that. So
You're telling me that if you fire up a game and it pops up like $30 for this armor, you're not gonna be like, that's dumb. Like, why are you?
Oh, it
doing
is
this?
dumb.
Yes.
it doesn't make again, it doesn't make any sense if it's purely cosmetic. But also, I'm not playing against people. It's not like I'll have an unfair advantage. I'll just look different, but nobody's even gonna know what I look like. So, like, to me, it's the best version of a microtransaction where it has no real impact on the actual game, and if I ignore it, it does nothing. Like, I that to me is, I'm fine with that. Whatever. Whatever.
Fox.
It's classic Blizzard.
There's
but
actual horse armor.
great.
You know the horse armor debacle? They're doing it again.
I understand. But if I don't get it, what happens?
But why dangle that in front of people saying it's,
Oh, no. It's crappy behavior from Blizzard.
yes.
It's crappy behavior. I'm not going to say that. Like, I'm not going to say it's not. I'm just saying it's people, like, it's not the same as
Pay to win
pay
type stuff.
pay $30 to be the best at the game. It's not even the self dunk that some games do, like the more recent Assassin's Creed games, where it's like, pay X amount of money to not have to play the game as much because we know you don't like it. Like, like it's just stupid. Like, it's just going to it's just going to get people who are more than willing to do that, and if they want to, that's fine. It does. I mean, it's a temptation for people. It's kind of like a gambling kind of thing, but not gambling, where it's just providing people an opportunity to do something that is objectively bad. But I don't know. I just don't really. It's just it's the video game world we live in, and it's not the worst version of it.
It just feels desperate to me. To me, it
Oh,
genuinely
sure.
feels like hey, our game is in a B plus, but we think if you pay some extra money to make it look better or to get that extra weapon or whatever else, then we can make it an A minus or an A plus at that point. And it's like, like microtransactions to me in situations like this, where it's like Diablo 4, it feels like an admission that what they have done is not good enough.
Sure, yeah.
And or even just saying like, okay, this is all arts, it's all armor packs, it's all skins and things like that. Why not just put it in the world as a reward to find then? Like selling it to people for extra money genuinely just feels desperate to me. Like I was listening to a Bim Bam the other day, a different podcast, and they were like, one of the questions that somebody asked was, hey, I was walking down the street and there were a lot of restaurants, and we stopped at one, looked at the menu, walked away and walked into the one next door, and the owner of the restaurant that we stopped to look at the menu comes in and says, no, please come into my store, the food's cheaper there. And like it feels like that kind of desperation to me. Microtransactions like this, it's like this, please give me money, I need it, come on, man. Like, it's just, yeah, it's icky.
Yeah, no,
and
it is.
feels desperate.
It is. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say it's not. Just saying it's not the kind of microtransaction that is. It's predatory, but not in a
I agree.
disadvantage or advantage.
It's predatory. It's almost lottery predatory, where it's only predatory to those who are going to want it anyway, which is, it's still predatory, but people who just say, I don't want that, it doesn't affect them in any way.
Right. It's a self-selecting, I'm choosing not to, so it just changes nothing.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Hey, should we get down to the nerdy gritty?
I suppose.
Well, you found you said there was a recent article. You said it was a good thing we're talking about this now because something relevant happened. What was it?
There's been a lot going on. So what we're going to talk about today is AI, artificial intelligence, which obviously is blowing up right now. Hopefully not literally, but just getting real popular in the world. Basically in kind of every single aspect of our world, like not just in high level, technology, but like literally you download an app and it will write an essay for you, or create some cool artwork, or whatever. People are entering art contests with AI generated imagery and winning. It's making a lot of other people angry and things like that. Like it is
one of the popular ones right now that is used a lot is blogs. A lot of bloggers are just using AI to kind of finish up their topic.
That makes sense to me. Like it has just become a thing where you just type in whatever you want to see happen, and then it happens. And most of the time, it is at least good enough to pass a passing grade. If there might be some cracks there, but. So, what we want to talk about today is artificial intelligence in the realm of gaming, because at this point, essentially, it's essentially inevitable that AI will be used in the gaming realm.
You said already is in some ways, right?
It already is in some ways, and I want to talk about that. But there's been some new developments and some new technology. NVIDIA just did a big presentation on their new some of their new tech, which included some AI generation, NPC generation, things like that, where we have kind of briefly talked about in the past AI as a means of like writing. We've talked about it as a way to kind of cut down how much writing needs to be done in a big open world game or something. But this is going far beyond just writing dialogue, like throwaway dialogue. It's like lighting systems and NPC creation, and like actual systems of a game can be done with a program now. So what we want to talk about is, could this be is AI inherently a bad thing when it's involved in the creation of video games? Are there bright spots? Are there ways that it could be an improvement to the industry? So let's talk about that today. Let me read first from a thing from NVIDIA. Their CEO recently, this is a really big, this has made some waves here. He said, this is a CNBC article, kind of, where is it? Anyone can be a programmer. This isn't a quote from him. This is from the article, but it's summarizing what he said. He says, anyone can be a programmer just by speaking to the computer, and the desired functions will come forth. No longer will programmers need to write lines of code only for it to display the dreaded failed to compile because of a missing semicolon. This will be done by generative artificial intelligence. Generative AI is a type of intelligence technology that can produce various types of content, including text, imagery, audio, and synthetic data. The computer doesn't care how you program it. It will try to understand what you mean because it has this incredibly large language model capability. And so the programming barrier is incredibly low. We have closed the digital divide. Everyone is a programmer. Now you just have to say something to the computer. That's essentially what the future of AI could be in the realm of video games.
Yeah, man. So, okay, here's what's really tough about this, and I think this is a industrial revolution type situation where there were a bunch of jobs, and then machines and like factories started being created and eliminated those jobs, and a lot of people lost their jobs. But then it actually just created different jobs. Instead of jobs of chopping wood, it was jobs of running the machine that chopped the wood. It sounds like it's going to be similar to that, in which right now coding is a vital tool, a brilliant job of people who have gone to school for a long time. At my in-store job at Discs and Dice, we used to have a guy who would code, and every once in a while we'd be struggling with our point of sale software, and instead of us being like, well, that sucks, he'd be like, hang on, and he'd go in and he'd spend an hour just literally recoding it, and he'd be like, there,
put on his black sunglasses and his trench coat and said, I gotta hack the matrix real
and quick. Then the screen showed things zooming around, and
and you had to shoot little enemies and stuff, with
exactly,
cool lasers. Yeah.
But he'd just go and he'd recode it and he'd come back and be like, okay, cool, it should work differently now. And it was really incredible.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Obviously, he left us and got a real job at
Intel. Good for him.
But it sounds so that compared to, and this is something we've talked about before, learning how to talk to an AI is a skill. It absolutely is a skill that
Sure.
is drastically different than other skills. And so it is going to be creating new jobs of I have learned how to talk specifically to Midjourney on how to create these images. I absolutely know like what sort of prompts are going to get it to do X and make sure that I add Y to it. So like one thing when I was messing with Midjourney a lot was I had to prompt it with symmetrical face. Whenever it was a person, I had to say symmetrical face because otherwise one eye would look one way and the other eye would look another, and it was just pulling things from all kinds of different places and smashing it together on a face. I had to prompt symmetry, and it was little things like that that you begin to learn, and eventually, to prompt the picture you want, it's like a paragraph long. People have a skill of these things, so it's going to end up changing from we need coders to we need people who specifically know how to converse with Chat GPT or whatever else. And that's still, I mean,
I
is that
understand.
art anymore? I don't know.
Well, so, yeah, we talked about this a little bit or a lot with when we talked about is something like DALL-E 2 or whatever your Midjourney or whatever, is that the same as a painter? And we I think we came to the conclusion of it's essentially a very fancy paintbrush that it still requires some input, and but the computer does a lot of the heavy lifting there. So that's what we came to there. I'm not sure if I'd still agree with that. I might. I think technically that is accurate, but the thing is, I agree. But at the same time, let's take Skyrim. Skyrim, for example, the entirety of Skyrim was written by 8 people. That includes the story, that includes the quest lines, that includes the dialogue, that includes all in-game books and written things you can pick up that have anything written in them, except for some stuff that was grandfathered in from previous games, from the previous, from Morrowind or whatever. 8 people did that, and they made the entirety of Skyrim. But it seems to be that we're now at a point where one person can say, hey, let's just say Chat GPT, because I don't have another, input. Chat GPT, create a Nordic open world map. Create a historical novel about the ancient king of this land. Create these things, and 100% that is still a skill. It's not just going to do it on its own yet. But I've seen Terminator, but that's still a skill. But even that, that's going to eliminate 7 people, I would assume, and probably still make the amount of time that it takes for all of it to be created far less. Skyrim was in production for a long years. 8 people working constantly on this thing, and it feels as though, yes, there will still be, we'll need one person to speak out, say the commands, but at the end of the day, why do you need a separate person to be the writer of the game if you can just have the, if Todd, what's his name, Todd Howard can say, Todd, well, we've already got this world created. I'm just going to make the next game myself because I've got a pretty good idea, and I'll let the computer make it even better for me. I want to make one about, this region of the world, and we'll just have the computer do it. So I don't need to hire any writers. I already have this program, and I can learn how to make the, just say the prompts.
I wonder at this juncture how viable it is to say that AI could build to that extent. As it is right now, we've seen AI do some great things, but nobody has said, I've written the next great novel with ChatGPT. There have been limitations on it where it's one image or a 2,000 word essay or whatever else. And again, this is an honest question. This is a question out of ignorance. I don't know if AI is capable of anything close to a 120-hour game, 200-hour game like Skyrim. Maybe if we're talking a 5 or 6 hour indie game, something like that. But even then, when we look at these, we have to remember that there are so many departments in building a game. Even when we look at those little 6 hour indie games, it's still a team of 30 people doing this, working in 6 different departments. And this is why we have Midjourney and ChatGPT and, whatever fill in the blank, because Midjourney can't write words and ChatGPT can't make images because each AI is programmed to do.
Well, sure, they have different functions.
Right. And so even at this point, we still have to admit that, okay, we're still going to need somewhat of a team and they still are going to have to be skilled in a certain way. But I do agree that, teams now are going to be like 2 people instead of 100. And I wonder also how much over the course of a full video game is this going to be like, are they going to be able to write compelling stories or fun gameplay? Are they going to understand fun? Are they going to understand compelling? They can do again, 2,000 word blog or a quick image, but could they fully comprehend? Like when you see some of the movie previews that they make, they're all the same. They look really, really similar from one another because,
right.
And you can even tell, like, that's Wes Anderson, that one right there. Oh, that's a gritty post-apocalypse one. Like, and they're having to recreate the same thing over and over because they're not, the AI still aren't fully able to comprehend the breadth of art, how much is out there with art. So I still think it's going to take people and a lot of people to be able to do this. But again, we're talking about the future, and I don't know what the future is going to hold in that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: they have discussed, or there's actually a video of.
Sorry, discussed.
Yeah, they have discussed for things. No, there's a short little demonstration of this new NVIDIA AI, like a player character walking into a noodle shop and talking to the proprietor. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. The dialogue is really flat. It could have been made, like, it looks nice, but the actual interaction is really, like, there'd been a lot better interactions hand created by people, but it was just a, short demo of like 45 seconds basically. But they've talked about how its entire, like, lighting and everything, like here's the thing. If an AI can write a paragraph for a blog post, why can't it write, or a blog post? Why can't it write 100 blog posts and create a whole blog? Why can't, if it could create a chapter of a novel, which it probably can, why can't it create 30 chapters and create the whole novel?
Have you seen AI Telephone?
No, I have not.
So
I don't know what that
something that's going on online right now with Midjourney, where they just type, like, one of the ones I've seen was a pepperoni pizza. And then it gives you the picture that you want. And then you ask it to describe it. You say, okay, hey, describe this image. And it says, a piece of pepperoni pizza, pepperoni's glistening with grease, blah, 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 blah. And then you copy and paste that and put it into Midjourney and have it create that image.
Oh, interesting.
And then have it describe it, and you keep doing that. And by the end, it's like a rocket ship on Mars.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. Again, so chat listeners, everybody, just go look AI Telephone. They're hilarious. But my point being that if you had it write chapter 1 and then you had it go and look at chapter 1 to write chapter 2, it's going to get wild real fast. It's going to go off the rails.
But here's the thing:
quick.
That might just be fun. Like, I might want to read that book. So yeah, that might be the case where I don't think in, like, major studios we're going to see a reduction to just the bare bones. Here are 8 people who know how to do this. I think what might happen is, if anything, we're going to use AI to give us the basic story of this game, and then we are going to flesh it out and make it great. But a lot of the heavy lifting is going to be done, or, things like that. There's just... Ultimately, I think this is going to be the artistic realm of, like, the artistic version of, like, factory farming versus, like, made organic, shade grown, free range, things like that, where it will require the consumer base to show interest in human made video games in order for those to thrive. And there will still be AI generated stuff that might actually be pretty good. I mean, the equivalent we have today is like, you have Assassin's Creed games that were coming out every year, or Madden games that were coming out every year that were essentially copy and paste in some capacities. Doesn't mean they were all bad. It just means they did not have that same stroke of genius or that same creative thrust that you would get from something a little more, from Hades or something where it's like, here's a very specific team creating something very specific with a really great vision that came to life in a great way.
So think of it this way. This is just something that came up to me, and I think this can always transition to some of the positives that can come with games.
Okay.
Pre-podcast, we were having our pre-podcast chat, which, by the way, listeners, if you don't know, we stream this, and we stick around about 15 minutes before and however long we need to afterward just to talk, about whatever, chat and whatnot. So come hang out with us in the stream. But that being said, pre-chat, our conversation was about Tears of the Kingdom and if it sort of made Breath of the Wild moot in its gameplay, because it is Breath of the Wild, but better in a lot of ways. Anyway, all this to say that, but because of the amount of work that went into it, because of the amounts of everything that it had to do, it's still a $70 game. Imagine, though, the ability to take an AI and say, take Breath of the Wild, change the map around a little bit, and change the abilities a little bit. Boom, Tears of the Kingdom, $15 DLC. Because an AI did most of the work. We were able to make it in a year, and the AI took care of the majority of it. Yeah, we had to have people come in and tinker with it and mess with it, but for the most part, this was AI done, and therefore it's a $15 DLC. Would that be a bad thing? Would we dislike that?
I mean, it'd be... Here's another thing I want to bring up in the same realm. AI is already used to a certain extent in video games. I want to bring up Speed Tree. Can we talk about Speed Tree?
I don't know what Speed Tree is, so sure.
Okay, you've never seen you've probably seen the logo for Speed Tree 1,000 times before games. When all the splash screens for the development companies and all the programs and stuff come up. Speed Tree is one specifically. It is a program.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a program that is used to create trees in games. Because if you have a forest in your game, hand creating every single tree is going to take a long time, but you also don't want to just copy and paste the same tree every time.
This is the kind of stuff that I don't even think about. Like, that makes perfect sense. Like, having all of your devs individually create trees is going to be bonkers.
It takes years. It takes so long.
Here's an organization that just does that.
So here's Speed Tree. Speed Tree allows you to input the type of tree, the size of the tree, and then allows you to still manipulate it to change it however you want to, but allows you to have a forest that looks genuine. Like, trees are never they're never the same tree. And so it allows you to have this realistic looking forest with a fraction of the work it would take if you were to create, Ghost of Tsushima, where there's a lot of trees in that game, whole forest, and people had to create every single tree. It would A, take forever, and B, I would imagine that a lot of the developers would feel like, even if they were passionate about the project, would feel like we're putting so much effort into something that is not the main point of this game. Like, I guess the question is then, that sounds like a good use of AI. So where is that line between good use of AI versus evil, destructive, corporate-driven greed, which we're all expecting to happen and is essentially inevitable?
And that's can become a blurry line. Like, we have to admit exactly that. For example, the Speed Tree thing, it would take dozens of people, hundreds of hours to make those trees. And so we say, and it saves that time. Like, it's great. But also what that does mean is that dozens of people have just lost out on hundreds of hours of work. And is that okay? But that's the exact same argument we're making with everything else. Like, the one thing that I think would be brilliant for AI is for AI to do QA. Instead of having one person jump into a specific area, equip armor, do everything in that area, change out their armor, do everything in that area, change out their armor, do everything in the
Right.
area, like over
Yeah,
and over
just
and
run
over
all
again
the
ad
variables.
nauseum.
Yeah.
Just feed that to an AI, have the AI run all the possibilities over the course of 4 seconds, and then pop out. Here are the conflicting codes that came up when we ran.
Here
the
are
scenario.
issues we found. Yeah, that's similar to what Hello Games did with No Man's Sky. Obviously, they physically impossible to go to every single planet
Right.
and do every single and like literally just impossible.
He's gonna live, guys. It's gonna be okay.
Well, for now. They had a program that essentially would go into the universe, go to planets, take pictures of planets, and essentially report back what it found to be able to at least look at more of the universe that they created.
They're exploring their fake universe in the same
They're
way that we're
creating-
exploring our real universe.
100%. Yes. I mean, yes. So we can't sit here and say, well, AI is going to be bad because of these things, because AI is already a thing used in video games. It's already used
Right.
in ways that nobody really complains about. And in
Even
fact,
when we just
I
talk
feel-
about the AI of different characters in the game, it's not a human being typing in the code or like typing in what that NPC is doing when you walk around or whatever. They've created an AI program to control
to a
that
certain
NPC.
extent, I mean, they are following a program that has been assumedly hand created.
So is AI.
Right. So exactly. So we have to find that line. The difference, I think, comes in with what NVIDIA was talking about, where it's generative, where it's essentially learning so well that it's creating things that you never even had to had to teach it. I want to make a statement here. I want to have a spicy take real quick.
Ooh, all
I
right,
actually think
spice it
this
up.
will be really difficult at first. It'll be a hard time for people to go through because people will lose their jobs. But ultimately, it could be very good for the gaming industry. The gaming industry has been and is increasingly at a this tipping point where the huge games that people expect are becoming so expensive to, like, the fact that Diablo 4 has those stupid microtransactions is, I would say, a direct result of people's expectations of how big a game is, how good it looks, all those things. And so if we could reduce costs, then I would say we could possibly, we've seen, from an economic standpoint, that reduce development costs don't reduce consumer costs. That's just not how corporate greed works. But it could potentially create an industry where people are less exploited. There's less exploitation. If they don't have to work as much, they could work a normal day. And this could, I would say, positive, hopefully, maybe eliminate crunch as a possibility. Because we're using these programs that have reduced, we can optimize our team. Now, again, that's going to mean a lot less people are essentially employed by certain developers, but it also could mean that those people just go and make their own games. These systems are potentially going to be available to more than just the hot top tier, or huge AAA studios. So I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a give and take, and it's going to mean a lot of people are losing their jobs, but I also feel it could be an answer to some of the problems the gaming industry is facing and has been for a while, including things like crunch and oversaturation.
QA.
I would love to see this lead to Blizzard having to reduce by a huge amount, but treating their people way better.
Yeah.
And then you have an even bigger plethora of small indie developers who aren't using AI. But now they have a lot more room to grow, especially when they can advertise, hey, this is not using AI. That I think that's going to be a point of pride for a lot of developers.
Absolutely.
And I will absolutely support that.
In fact, and this is my spicy take, whether or not we think it's a good thing, it's going to happen.
Well,
This-
sure,
this
it's
is-
essentially inevitable.
This is the future. This is not VR where it's like, oh, is this a fad? Is it not a fad? 10 years from now, what's VR going to look like? Which, by the way, it's a fad. It's a fad that's going to stick around. But still, anyway, this is the future. And the future of all technology, like anything that takes code, is going to be its future, whether that be self-driving cars or video games. This is the future here.
You know why it's the future as opposed to VR? VR increase production costs, whereas AI reduces them. That's really what it comes down to.
So this is the future, and what we have to decide as consumers is how much we're willing to accept that. So
Yeah.
my kind of what I want to close out here with is the question: if a game comes out and like, or let me rephrase that. Let's say Blizzard, we already talked about them, and because they're like the most likely to do this, says this game was made entirely with AI. And then it comes out afterward and it was like, yeah, it was made by 100 people and they laid off 500 people to do it. Do we play that game? And at what point does that tip?
Possibly happening, but yeah.
Right. And at what point does that tip? Because this will happen. We will be playing AI made games at some point in our lifetime for sure. But at what point do we just throw in the towel and say, we cannot protect people's jobs forever. This is the future. We can't keep buying, handmade logs forever.
None of us are riding around in most of us are not riding around in horse-drawn buggies.
Exactly.
Because people lost their jobs when the car came out,
Right.
Or we're not simply using landlines because people, the industry change and cell phones came out. Like,
right.
We have all already made this decision in lots of other areas of our lives where we might have had a problem at the start, but the march of technology happens. It is an inevitability. And I'm okay with you saying, well, I won't ever play AI games. That's fine. Great. 100%. I support that 100%. But we're all going to have that tipping point of when we decide to do that. What are let's talk about this just as in the future. I want to say I think it should be required. Maybe this is a what's the ESRB or something. It should be required that the game developers are required to what's the word I'm looking for? Advertise to make it very obvious when they are using AI technology, and then AI technology has to be defined, of course, to be able to do that. But like it could be an ESRB rating kind of thing where it's not necessarily going to change the rating, but it will be on the in that little box. It'll say violence, it'll say suggestive themes, it'll say artificial intelligence present, something like that. Like I would like
that
people
sounds so ominous.
100%. It absolutely does, because it feels weird right now because we have things like Blade Runner and Terminator and all things like that. Really, AI is a lot more boring when it starts. It just makes funny pictures or writes blog posts that nobody
Blood and
was going to
gore,
read.
sexual themes, and AI is watching you.
AI intelligence. But I think there should be an informed audience, that it should be required that we know what was being used, how was this developed, things like that. And I really think it wouldn't be a big deal for developers. I don't think they should have to want to hide that. Like,
well,
it's not really I don't think it'll change much.
And on the flip side, something that's being discussed in chat right now, and a reminder, chat, we're going to come back to all that you're saying here after the podcast is over, but is the fact that this could also help even the playing field with the 5-man team, the one-woman team, whatever, just the people out there making games now have so many more tools available to them to take care of what the AAA 1,000-person team has had for so long. Now they have the ability just to type into an AI, can you please take care of this, or can you please take care of that? Because now you have to be polite to the AI. I got to throw please.
Oh yeah, just when the singularity happens and they are aware of us, they will appreciate that you were nice. They'll wait an extra couple seconds before you're nuked.
Like they run/QA equals this area of the map, and then it just runs QA for that entire area of the map overnight. Things like that. That
Sure.
will now be possible for people to take care of with 1 or 2 man teams, and that's going to be a huge boon to the indie game studio.
We're also going to need a continued increased amount of unionization. This is a huge moment right now for the Writers Guild of America. Part of they're on strike for one of the major reasons is to head off to try to get out in front of the threat of AI and their jobs.
Smart. Yeah.
So this needs to happen in the gaming industry. Also, unfortunately, it's far behind as far as unionization goes, but this is just another reason why unions need to continue to be created, because people should not lose their jobs because of it immediately, or there should be some kind of agreement made. Here's what you're allowed to do. Here's what you need to do. I mean, there's so many problems with employment, how people are employed in the game industry, but this needs to be addressed in some way that protects the industry, the people actually doing the work.
And what I think
right now
is unique with video gaming as far as writers go is there's so much more content to write in a lot of video games. And I fully support the idea of, this is something we've discussed before, I support the idea of a writer sitting down and writing all the main dialogue for a character, the entire story, doing all that stuff, but then having an AI generate all of the side dialogue for a character, because
all the garbage you don't want to actually do.
Exactly. Yes. Like so the example I used
but it
before,
has to be in the game for some reason. So
the example that I used before is when I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, I'd walk by a thing of rocks that has a cave hidden behind it, and every single time my character would say, "Those rocks have seen better days." As if rocks see better days. Like, yes, they're rock, and it's like, and it's the game telling you there's something behind those rocks over there. And it's one line of dialogue, exact same one repeated every single time. But if you could have an AI write 100 lines, 1,000 lines of dialogue, and then kind of just, use the voice actors, all of the data from the voice actors' mainline dialogue to create all this side dialogue, that would be so nice for my character to not say those rocks have seen better days every time.
I would say, though, that if it's so nothing, like it would be maybe even better to just not say something when you walk by.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, okay, here's another example of it then.
Just let me as the player see the thing and blow it up.
In Tears of the Kingdom, there are a handful of characters that if you approach them without any clothes on, they will mention it. They will say, "Hey, why aren't you wearing any clothes? That's weird."
Which is fair.
Anyway, and then they move on with the way, or one of them literally turns around, does not look at you, and says, "I'm not really comfortable with your state of dress," and then continues the entire conversation with her back turned to you. And what if they wrote a dialogue or two for every single character in the entire world if you're not wearing any clothes, and they have the AI just throw that in? That would be brilliant. That'd be hilarious to have. You don't want to make a writer do that. That's pointless time that you're paying them to do something like that. But it's really funny to be able to walk up to any character and have them be like, "Why do you not have any clothes on? That's weird." Well, anyway, and then you go in with all the stuff that's
and you get to find out who the real nasty people are in the game.
I love the fact that you're not, man.
Addison would be like, "Hey, if I didn't have to hold this sign up, I'd be joining you, my man."
Yeah. I was the same way, but then the president said that I had to put clothes on, man, when I was holding up his signs. Dang, it's rough. Man, So all this to say, here's kind of wrap up our thoughts here, because the chat is actually bringing up a ton of great stuff that I want to discuss.
Yeah, we'll get to
that after the podcast. But so to kind of wrap up my thoughts on all of this is, we're in a really morally gray territory with AI right now. But the reality is that it is inevitable. Much like Thanos once said, it is inevitable. And that was his exact quote. He looked at everybody and said, artificial intelligence is inevitable.
"I'm too drunk to taste this chicken."
So AI is inevitable. And while we are currently in a very morally gray area, the choice is going to be made for us one way or the other. And so all I would say right now is support actual human developers whatever way you can.
Yeah.
And that may be no way at all sometime soon. That may be that the games start stamping on it 100% human developed. support those games, whatever it is. That's all I'll say. Support human developers any way you can, but eventually the choice is going to be made for us. That's the reality of the AI revolution that's going on right now.
Yeah, at the end of the day, some of these things have already started making their way into development. Have been there for that. You have these massive worlds. That thing, like there's a no clip documentary about Horizon, the first one, Zero Dawn.
Yeah,
and they talk very casually about their system of, yeah, this is how we put in plants in the world. We say this plant has to be this close to water in this temperature region, and then the game does it for you. And then, yeah, maybe they go in and change some things, or it didn't do it perfectly. We have to fix it. But things like that already exist. We are not on the we're not taking a new step. We're taking a bigger step into a realm of AI. And so let's recognize that, as well as the fact that, it's just, it is, like you said, going to continue to happen. And it's okay if people want to play those games still.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing if they want to. And if you don't want to, hey, great.
It's fine.
Great. Vote with your wallet.
100%. That's what we've always said.
Support indie devs. I'm very much looking forward to Hades 2, largely in a big way because I have watched the no clip documentaries about how much time and effort and creativity went into those, and I love them for it.
Yeah.
And it's this group of like 8 people, and I really want to see the next game in that series. I'm really looking forward to it
because also Hades is very good.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah. Well, everybody, hey, thank you so much for listening, chat. Thank you for hanging out. We've had a great time with each of you guys here. We want to say a big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and so do most of my neighbors, off of their album, Dear Sam. Hey, Granger just dropped a new video, actually.
They did.
Yeah.
New song came out.
What's the name of the song? Look it up real quick. I watched this. The song is real good. It's great. What I love about it the most, though, is the music video is them all with sheets over their heads like ghosts. And
right.
That's it for like 3 minutes is them like fading, and it just fades back and forth of them standing in different spots, and it rains, and that's the whole video. I kind of love it. Song's great though. What's the name of the song?
On, I've got it right here.
Do you really?
the kite and the line.
The kite and the line.
I knew it. I didn't want to say it wrong. I knew it was like I had like kite in the wind or something. Anyway,
yeah,
it's called The Kite and the Line. Yeah, go check it out.
So here, I'll even put that in the chat. Granger. The Kite and the Line. Yeah. Good stuff. They're real good. Yeah. Go check out Ranger.
And hey, if you have the opportunity, the means to support Save Point Ministries, please go ahead and do that. That you can subscribe to the Twitch channel here if you're listening, if you're watching, of course, right now or at any time. But also, I would say it's a better idea to go support and make a pledge. Give some support through the Save Point Ministry website directly. Save Point just gains a lot more from that. But
Twitch
whatever means you have, yeah, big Twitch, which is Amazon. So
yeah, which
truly
is
the biggest of the big. Don't put more money in Bezos's pocket. He doesn't need it. So yeah. Anyway, if you can't financially spread the word, we're here doing this podcast every other week. I know Steve streams every Monday. He's got stuff going on, so spread the word on Twitch. Save Point Ministries.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. We're gonna stick around after the podcast to chat with everybody here in chat on the stream here. But for those of you listening, thank you so much for listening, and always remember that saved games save lives.
Bye.
I'm not sure what just happened to Fox, but he's gone now. Fox, you there? Fox?
Wait.
Hello? Oh, hey, there it is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened either.
Yeah, that was wild. Okay, and for whatever reason, your camera moved on my... okay, anyway, the important part is, chat, you had a lot of really good things to say. We're going to be talking about that here for a while, so let me scroll back up. and go over it. Man, you had so much like because like all the way back up to what I really wanted to mention was that for your Scorsese film,
Yeah.
Darkseid posited the name God's Father, uh, which is real good. Which is top notch. Darkseid also said, is when we were talking about microtransactions, I don't mind microtransactions in a general sense, especially in the FTP Battle Pass model. It's the fishing for whales that bothers me. I mean, I wouldn't consider Battle Pass microtransactions. That's paying for the subscription to the thing. But when it's like, to me, it's the amounts. If you're paying $15 a month and they say, hey, this month you can pay $16 and also get this, or you can not pay the $15 and play for free, but if you do pay the $15, like in Marvel Snap, they release a new card and they say this card will be available to the general public next month, but for this whole month you got to be subscribed to the battle pass or whatever to be able to get this card. So is that microtransactions? I don't know.
I've always microtransactions to me is just anything that's not. It's a gray area, but for a long time it was buy a full game, or at the very most, or the next step down would be buy like an expansion, something significant, and then you had anything after that. It got to microtransactions, where it's something small that's added to the game and not necessarily a game itself.
Yeah. On that note, man. Hey, we got a lot of people in here. So, Fofir, thank you for the follow. Star Patron, we mentioned you earlier. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you guys jumping in here and chatting with us.
Hello, yeah, thanks for being here.
So, this is another one that I really wanted to talk about. Darkseid, again, brings up, as far as AI goes, so now we're jumping into the conversation of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How far away are we from an AI dungeon master / game master? You are able to get your party of people, you feed it your backstory and your character sheet, and you say go, and it DMs your game.
I mean, probably not very far. That's probably possibly already a thing. I don't know.
I would think to level like varying degrees of success. For maybe like a one shot that's technically pre-written, but it is programmed to be able to roll with the punches. Maybe a year or two out, but as far as like a full on AI,
sure.
GM, Wasabi Jane says that she read a novelty piece where someone got GPT to GM a game for them. So, yeah, I mean that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, finding somebody to DM. Well, there's a lot of people who want to play Dungeons and Dragons. There's a far less number of people who want to be the DM.
We have,
especially after they've already DM'd.
In our store, we have professional DMs who, we obviously, players who come to play pay for each session. It's $22 a session, but that money basically goes directly into the DM's pocket because they're there for like 4 or 5 hours a week,
right.
DMing each. Like we have one guy who DMs 3 different games. I've been offered that. Like I've been told like, hey, do you want to be one of our pro DMs? And I'm like, no thanks. I'm freelancing it with like 4 different campaigns already. So
yeah, it's a lot of work and effort. So I mean, to me that would be kind of cool as long as it. The problem is I don't want to sacrifice the spontaneity and like joy that comes from the like I'm the DM and I don't want you to succeed, but also when you do, I'm like super excited also. And you just rolled a nat 20, that's awesome. And instead it would just be nat 20. Here are the results of your,
right.
Like it would remove a lot of that humanity. That is a big part of, I mean, literally removing it, but a big part of the, role playing, tabletop role playing.
And to me, TTRPGs in general are community building, cooperative storytelling endeavors. Yeah. And without a live person kind of guiding and directing that whole thing, it takes a lot out of it. And yeah, I don't know that it would be that as successful or even just as fun as I
think it'd be more fun if you just had a PC and you had like what if one of your PCs was a construct and they were an AI and you had to just react to whatever they did as an AI. I feel like you could incorporate it into the world of, like, you know, this mad wizard created a spell that gave it a semblance of intelligence.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Darkseid, we said that there's a lot of people that wants to play, but not a lot of people that want to GM. And Darkseid is saying, you say that, but I'm struggling to find people willing to play a weekly game. Yeah. I'm in a situation right now where there's a couple of games that people have offered to be in, and like I want more than anything to be in these games, but there is just so little time. Like, it's tough. Yep. It's tough. Okay, let's see. Scrolling through the chat here. Oh yeah, Darkseid saying something that he's never considered is the skill of how to get the output that you want, of talking to an AI. Like, it's just something very interesting. And it is, guys, from somebody who has personally messed with AI, it is absolutely a skill. And it takes a lot of time. And even at the end of the day or two that I spent with it, I was moderate at it. But seeing what some of these people who put in like these outstanding things, again, it was like paragraphs of stuff, and then they'd come out with these beautiful, exactly what they want pictures. Right. I was happy with what I got, and I got some really cool stuff, but it meant that I had to do like 3 or 4 prompts and adding and changing and whatever else. So
yeah, I remember the first story of somebody winning an art contest using Midjourney or whatever.
Talking about that a while back. Yeah, it
was something like 250, 300 prompts to get exactly what he eventually entered into the contest. Like, it wasn't a casual, I'll just do this for fun. It still took some time to really hone it in.
I am Tam. When we were talking about horse-drawn carriages and the fact that cars, took them away, nobody decided to start walking just because they didn't want to support cars. I am Tam says, I am walking, but not for that reason. I'm too poor to afford a horse-drawn carriage or a car. These days, you could probably get a cheap car for less money than having to buy and maintain a horse.
Yeah, no, they cost some money.
So here's something that we talked about for a little while. On the opposite end of the AI situation, will this enable the small guy to potentially compete with major studios? And later on, Johnny Boy says, I wonder how feasible it will be for the little guy in the future. Right now, it's essentially free to a degree, and we're just feeding it everything it needs to know. But once it gets all it needs, will become very expensive. So there's a couple of topics here. Number one, the little guy being able to compete with the big teams. Will this help that? I would say to a degree, but it will always be the more humans able to think about a thing, then it's going to end up better than just one human thinking about a thing. Maybe not always, but
sometimes you have Concerned Ape entirely created, Stardew Valley on his own. Like, everything in the game was
well, and you can say the same with what's his name who made Minecraft?
Notch. Marcus Persson.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was just him, but I know he didn't do the music. But
but
you have very small teams, sure.
I'll also say that even if we were to take Stardew Valley and put it up against Tears of the Kingdom, there's a difference there.
Well, they're different genres, but yeah, I understand.
So, or even Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. Well,
there hasn't been a better Harvest Moon than Stardew Valley
that's
so
a
far.
Fact. So. That's a fact. Yeah. But no, I definitely think that it would help them compete. But at the same time, having more people work on an AI is still going to be better. Having more people working with the AI is still going to be better than one person. What about cost? Do we think that eventually there's going to be prohibitive costs on these AI?
Probably. I mean, if something can cost money, if somebody can make money off of it, then they will. And it's not like, I don't think anybody's just putting Midjourney out there like entirely for free for everybody to use for always. Like, that's going to be a thing, but there's already costs to game development. And if I can reduce my overhead of how many people are on the team and how many computers and how much power those things generate and all the physical space that requires, and still have to pay a lot of money. Like, if I have to pay $1 million to use Midjourney, ChatGPT, whatever, well, that's pretty cheap compared to, Red Dead Redemption that cost 300 million to
Right.
250 million
Right.
dollars. Like, I feel as though, yes, it could cost a lot, but when you compare it to everything else that currently goes into game development, then I feel like it would still be a net gain,
I
net profit, or
I foresee the current AI that we have being pretty much the same, like maintaining its $25 monthly cost or whatever it is that you pay for a lot of these things. What I genuinely foresee is Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, King, / whatever, making their own AI. And
Yes.
that's their
Yeah.
that's their proprietary AI, and Sony's proprietary AI, and Nintendo's proprietary AI, and them saying, if you want to use our AI, the game's going to be on our system.
Well, it'll be
That's
like a
it.
game engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Where
Exactly.
like CryEngine or Frostbite or whatever. Where some of them are a little more open source. I mean, you have like Unity, but a lot of them, the big ones, are owned by specific companies. Unreal, and you can license it. You have to pay the company to use it, and just because you use Unreal doesn't mean you have to publish it. Doesn't have to be published by Epic, but it's still going to you're required to pay them in order to use
Right.
that. So yeah, that's absolutely going to going to be the case.
Farmer Daniel says that Hades is the greatest game of all time. Farmer Daniel, I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the greatest game of all time, but I definitely think it's up there. It's on the list of greatest games of all time.
Here's a truth bomb, Farmer Daniel. There's no greatest game of all time. There's no greatest movie of all time. There's no greatest piece of art of all time. Except for Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
I was waiting for what's the except for? What is it? What's the except?
Except for Fast and the Furious 7.
Because if you weren't going to say it, I was going to say except for Elden Ring. But
no, there's no best thing of all time, but Hades is very good.
Hades is incredible. Hades is one, like, I played a million hours of Elden Ring. I played a million hours of Breath of the Wild. I played a million hours of all these incredible games because they're that expansive. There's that much to explore. I played a million hours of Hades of a loop of a 45-minute loop, and I played it over and over and over and over again, and it's so good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to 2.
Oh man, I'm so excited. Let's see here. We got Wasabi Jane. Oh, cool, Wasabi Jane. She says, unrelated to the podcast, I finally did taste test Sprecker's vs. A&W, and Sprecher is vastly superior. Didn't expect to notice that much of a difference. My root beer collection up top. Chat, if you didn't, those of you who are in there, if you don't know, hang on, let me pull my camera down here. Up top, you see all these bottles up there. Those are all different kinds. Let's see. Do I have some others? No, I have shelves on the sides of the wall too, but the entire top up there, that's all different kinds of bottled root beer. I am a root beer nerd in the same way that some people are like wine nerds. I am a root beer nerd, and I was chatting about it a while back, and I recommended Sprecher, specifically Sprecker's Fire Roasted. Wasabi Jane is saying that she taste tested the 2, and yeah, I mean, A&W isn't bad. It just tastes like sugar. It's good sugar. It's brown sugar, and it's a little bit of a spicy sugar.
That was your nickname in college.
Brown sugar, baby. But it was spicy brown sugar. That's Des. That's me. Anyway, but it doesn't have the complexity that a real good bottled root beer does, like Sprecher. Anyway, sorry. All right. Scrolling through the chat, so I could go on and on and on and on and on. I am Tam. I'd love to play a TTRPG, but I work weekends. It's tough, man. Here we go. Dark Side. Regarding AI cost, I think we'll see mods, consoles, and interfaces / add-ons to the base AI. Those will be the expensive bits. The base AI will likely continue to be free. Johnny Boy, what's up, Johnny? Saying, yes, I agree. What we have now will still be available, but what it could / will become, here it is the one that won't be free to utilize. So, absolutely, I agree with that. Where, yes, you can use Midjourney / ChatGPT all the time, but if you want the video game version of it, if you want it to write video game code for you, That's going to be extra. Yeah, I think that's fair. Absolutely,
No, yeah. If people can make money off of it, they will. Like it's not
100%.
somebody owns it. That's of course going to be part of the production cost. I still think that compared to what production costs are today, it could be very expensive by my personal standards, but still be vastly comparatively cheaper than everything that goes into making something today.
I Am Tam makes the point. Jesus is the best savior of all time. You saying that there isn't really best of all times. They're saying Jesus is the best savior of all time. And here's what I'm going to say. Jesus is the best savior of all time in the same way that my son is the best son that I've ever had. In as much as I only have one son, and therefore he's the best son that I've ever had. And Jesus is the only savior. And so, yeah, he's going to be the best. He's the only one. So, Johnny Boy asked, where does Henry Weinhard's fall on my list of root beards? Tied for second.
That's what ends have.
Legitimately tied for second. My favorite is Sprecher's Fire Roasted. It's incredible. It's delicious. But then there's what's called Pirate's Keg root beer and Henry Weinhard's, and they're tied. They're different though. Where Henry Weinhard's is like a really rich honey and molasses type and vanilla type brew. It's very accessible. It's very like ice cream, like I call it, where it's that rich, smooth vanilla honey molassesy taste, where Pirate's Keg is a little more spicy and rich. Both are very thick brews, which I'm a big fan of both of that. But anyway, sorry.
Are we playing Tears of the Kingdom? Let me know when we're...
Yeah, sorry. I'm done now. Okay, I'm done. I Am Tam's got root beer fudge in the fridge. That sounds delicious. I'm happy about that. All right, I think we made it through the chat. I think we got everything. Fox,
hey, you know what I just realized?
What's that?
We never talked about our things that we've been into lately.
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about what we've been up to lately.
We skipped a whole section.
We skipped an entire because
let's do a couple just off podcast.
Yeah, because I have some I have some that I want to talk about. All right, Fox.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
hey, Dez.
Yeah.
Dez.
Yeah.
You know what I saw, right?
Is Fast 10 out?
You know the movie I saw, didn't I?
Is it Fast 10?
Yeah,
I didn't know it was out. Oh man.
Fast X came out 2 weeks ago.
Was it stupid?
Unfortunately, It wasn't as stupid as it should have been.
Okay. All right.
It was not to say that, I mean that in it didn't really have the stupid, ridiculous stunts as much as I wanted it to have. It did not. Here's the thing. It's part 1 of at least 2, maybe 3, apparently. But it did not have the stunts to overcome what happened in 9 or 8. There was no they went to space in 9. There was no we drove on the moon, something like that, where it's we got to one up ourselves. It had lots of stupid stuff and some really dumb physics defying car jumps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It continues to be that they use cars as just it's basically what if the Avengers were all Iron Man, and instead of a suit they had a car. Yeah, because at one point Dominic Toretto drops his car out of a plane, I would say at least 100 feet off the ground, and lands on another car and just uses that car as a cushion. It's not it basically is stating.
Hang on, I Am Tam. Hang on, I Am Tam. Before you go, you said carbonation makes you sick. See if you can find homebrewed root beer is significantly lower on carbonation. Most store root beer is what's called forced carbonated, where they add carbonation to it. If you can find homebrewed root beer anywhere, it will be much lighter on the carbonation. Very different, but have fun watching Stravista paint. Bye, I Am Tam. Sorry, Fox. Go ahead.
So anyway, I wish there were more, but it is also part 1 of at least 2. The best part of the movie was Jason Momoa, who essentially was
saying a lot.
Yes, but no, he
the best part of the movie was Jason Momoa. No other film in existence has said that.
That's true. No, he hammed it up hardcore. He was this flamboyant pirate guy. It was crazy. Just his mannerisms and his just he was having so much fun, both
That's
acting,
cool. I like that.
assume,
I like that.
as well as his character was just gleefully destroying. Like, he attempts and partially succeeds in blowing up the Vatican, and he's just like having a real fun time doing it. Do
Take
you
that,
want,
Catholicism.
since you haven't seen it and aren't probably going to watch it,
Go ahead.
do you want a big spoiler?
Yeah, make it happen. I don't care. Chat, cover your ears for
if you
Fast
care.
10 spoilers.
Post-credit scene.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put up a thumb, and as long as my thumb is up, it's spoiler o'clock. So cover your ears, take off your headphones, whatever
That's
it is.
confusing.
Go.
Post-credit scene. Guess who shows up?
Tell me it's not Paul Walker.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's back.
He's back. All right.
Paul Walker does show up surprisingly. Like they use a lot of footage from Fast 5 at the beginning of the movie.
Got it.
And he actually has says lines and stuff. Like, it's not just brief images. Like, he's in the movie for a while, which was surprising. But The Rock, apparently their feud was either nothing and it was all just a ruse, or they have made up the the issues.
Dollars help.
Yeah, well, sure. The
Dollars
Rock is
help.
back. He was in the post-credit scene. He'll be in part 2 for
All
sure.
right. There you
So,
go.
good news on that front.
Okay, I'm taking the thumb down.
Yes.
All right, we're good. Spoiler free now. Headphones back on. Whatever else. I watched Top Gun Maverick.
About time.
This is an old. I know, about time, and I wouldn't even have brought it up normally. When it's a movie that's been out for this long, I would normally
Sure.
not have brought it up in the chat or on the podcast. I guess we're not podcasting anymore. But here's why I want to talk about it, because so many people talked about this movie, how good and how fun it was, how much
Yep.
they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. I talked to a lot of people about this movie.
Yes.
Why didn't anybody tell me it was a Star Wars? It's
Yeah, it's essentially
It's Star Wars.
the trench run, the
yes,
bombing run.
The whole
Yeah.
plot, spoilers for Top Gun Maverick, the whole plot is them going to a trench to fly very fast so that they can get to a very small target, and then they have to hit that target and get away as quickly as possible. And while they're doing and practicing this, they say things like, I can't shake them, stay on
Right.
target. Like, these things actually, and there's like even like cannons that they have to avoid and whatnot, like not cannons,
Right.
missiles, but gun turrets. Like, basically it's the trench run. And at the
Right.
end, again, spoiler, at the end, there's even a use the force moment. There's 2 planes for every shot. One plane shoots a laser to aim with, and then the other plane goes and fires the missiles, and it
Right.
hits where the laser is aiming. Well, the guy's laser
I don't
isn't
have
working.
the laser.
Oh no, my laser's broken.
I gotta feel it.
Yeah, I gotta just do it by sight, and he hits it on a bullseye. And there's even the same shots of the exhaust port and the 2 proton torpedoes going in.
Yeah.
There is a shot of the small hole
Right.
and it going into that spot and blowing up. Like, it was a Star. I said, as he was approaching, before they even said that that the laser was working, I looked at my wife and I said, "Use the force, Rooster." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "That laser's not going to work." And sure enough, the laser doesn't work. And it was like, it was a Star Wars, 100%. Yeah. So
It was a top of the line Honda Civic. Solid, dependable, well crafted, boring car.
it was super fun.
Nothing interesting about the movie.
No.
Incredibly fine and solid and
It
well
was the
crafted.
7-7 of a film that I've seen in a while, where it was like, this is good. It's great. It's fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. Is it special? No,
No.
not at all.
Other than the fact that it was well made. Like,
Yeah,
it was a
oh my
well
gosh.
crafted film.
The shots in the airplane, the
Yeah.
actors were in those airplanes.
Yeah,
That
you
was a
could tell
real
that they
thing.
were putting
You
some
can
time and
tell.
effort into
Yes.
it. That's cool.
It was really cool. Definitely.
There was
definitely.
nothing interesting about it.
Yeah. All right. What do you got? What else?
I don't know if you're wanting to talk about Ted Lasso, but I haven't finished. I haven't watched
No.
the finale
I
yet.
haven't watched the finale yet today.
Okay.
No.
Then you go with your next thing because I got to look at my list.
Okay. Then my next thing is Star Wars Visions. Star Wars
yeah,
Visions
yeah.
season 2 came out, and I dare say it's better than season 1. Like,
You dare say?
yeah. So Star Wars Visions season 1 came with this idea: what if we take different genres of anime, of Japanese anime, and we create shorts in the Star Wars universe using these different genres of anime? Season 2 says, what if we just, instead of just Japan, we put this out into the entire world? and we let anybody take a shot at this. And so right off the bat, season 1 is it's 3D, like CG animated, looks like a video game essentially, from Spain. It's a short from Spain, and the whole thing is based in color. It's an entire thing of like the use of color, and it's really bright in some areas, really dark, and then like colors, and it's just this beautiful like splash of color all throughout the entire thing. Is outstanding. The second one is from one of my favorite small studios out there, Cartoon Saloon. Cartoon Saloon a while back made a movie called Song of the Sea, and it's like this Gaelic Celtic like story about a Selkie and all this other stuff, and it's outstanding. It's a great film, but at the same time, they come back with this and Star Wars Visions, and theirs has been my favorite so far. It just crushes it. The people who make the British stop motion animation studio who do like Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, okay.
They made one.
Really?
Yeah, and it's hilarious and wonderful, and there's a couple of stop motion animation things in there. Like, the whole thing is so good, and they go from so many different angles, and it's fun, and it's exciting, and it's goofy, and man, let's just say
Goofy shows up?
Goofy literally shows up with a lightsaber, and then Sora's there, but
Yeah, we're getting into Kingdom Hearts territory here.
Cartoon Saloon's short is the most Irish Star Wars story ever, says Wasabi Jane, and it is, well, because again they're Irish, and it's super Irish, but it's so good for it. It literally has a banshee in it, and you know, a minor spoiler, it has a banshee, but it's so good. Star Wars Visions, go watch it.
I am now 36 volumes into Inuyasha.
Oh, okay.
You ever watch Inuyasha?
No, there was one that I
Man,
never got into.
I have been reading it, and it's like the equivalent of like a warm blanket, where
100%.
it's just like nostalgic, because I remember watching some of it on like Toonami
Or
way
Toonami,
back
yeah.
when, that and Dragon Ball Z and stuff, but it's just so repetitive and predictable,
Like
and
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah,
yeah,
baby!
essentially, yeah, it's from that era.
I love
where,
me some
well, I mean,
DBZ.
there are some it still happens today, but it's just a very much like we're going to keep this going as long as possible. So the ultimate goal never really happens, or there's just always another threat kind of thing, until I assume it stopped making as much money as it could, at a certain point, and so then they conclude it. But Inuyasha is great. It's just such a simple like, I'm a half demon and there's a human girl. Are we gonna fall in love together? Who knows? Maybe you'll find out next time. Oh no, there's a demon. Let's fight him. Oh, I killed him.
I used my hidden strength that I didn't know I had before.
Yeah, now I have, for whatever reason, my sword wasn't working, but now it is, and I defeated the demon.
And you
now,
go, yay!
Yay! And it's just so like,
It's Top Gun
quaint.
Maverick. It's
It
Top
feels
Gun
very,
Maverick, but
it's very
yeah.
quaint. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I will continue reading it because I'm only like halfway through the whole series. So
My last one is my wife and I have been watching both Citadel and Fubar. Citadel is a spy film about, like, it's kind of a trope these days, but spies who lost their memory and now they're trying to get their memories back. But the big twist on this one is these two spies fell in love with each other before they lost their memories, and now it's 8 years later, and like one of them is married with a child, and them trying to reconcile all this while also trying to save the world from the bad guys and whatever, blah blah blah. And again, because it is this sort of trope, there's big reveals and things we didn't remember, and what, they were actually a spy the whole time? I thought they were a normie, and all this other stuff. Like, it is predictably unpredictable in a lot of different ways. On the exact flip side of things, Fubar is also about spies. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is a CIA agent who is retiring, but on his last mission, he goes and finds out that his 20-something-year-old daughter is also a CIA agent and has been for a while.
That's nice.
And now he's like, what? You never told me. And she's like, what? You never told me. And it's like the family dynamic that Black Widow had, the good parts of the family dynamic of Black Widow.
Yeah.
In a spy, like all to say that watching these two next to each other has been hilarious because they're both spy shows, but they could not be more different from one another. Fubar is delightful. It's hilarious. Arnold Schwarzenegger is great in comedy, surprisingly. Like he's delivering great comedic lines and being a great dad, and it's really, really funny and fun to watch. There is a character in it. I can't remember her name. I don't want to throw too much shade anyway, but she's a Netflix comedian and she has a side role in it and she's just not funny. And like she's like they give her all the shock lines and she doesn't deliver her comedy very well. She's not a great actress and it's just she's kind of the disappointment of Fubar. But then we've come back over to Citadel and it's exciting, but because it's so predictably unpredictable, whenever a big twist hits, you're like, yep. There's another big twist. So, okay, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised that I am surprised. Like, okay. So, anyway, both are fun. Both are worth watching. But yeah. See you around, Johnny Boy. Thanks for hanging out, man. That's my last one. What do you got?
No, I started watching, speaking of Martin Scorsese, I started watching The Irishman again.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it, man. It's so boring.
It's 4 hours, right?
It's so long. It's just like, okay. And also, there's a very, very funny moment because it's about basically the whole life of the character that Robert De Niro plays. But obviously, Robert De Niro isn't pretty old. He's gotten up there in years.
He's also not Irish.
It starts off with him. I don't think he's the Irishman it's referring to. But it starts off with him in older age makeup, like retirement. Like he's older than he is in real life.
Right.
But then it goes back and he's like digitally de-aged and he like helps a guy out and the guy it's I forget his name, the Joe
Biden.
Yes, Joe Biden shows up. So nobody is talking about this. I don't know why. No, a guy shows up or he helps him fix his car or whatever and the other guy says, kid, where are you from? And he calls Robert De Niro in this scene a kid, and Robert De Niro looks generously 45. Like it's just like, are you trying to convince us that he's 22 or something by using the term kid? Because nobody, it's so weird that they just didn't get another actor to be young version. And it's lame. It's very boring, and I don't recommend The Irishman at all. It feels like a throwaway.
Ben Platt in the Dear Evan Hansen movie, like it's really really good. Like but Ben Platt looks like he's in his 30s, and he's supposed to be.
You're not in 18. High school, Ben.
Yeah. That's what I got.
That's all I got.
Cool. End of podcast question? Oops. I can't believe I forgot to put this in the podcast. If we actually syndicate this later, if and when we syndicate this later, I'll cut it and I'll add that extra part and edit them together. Well, all right, we're heading out, chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. If you have any last thoughts, go ahead and toss them in. But we appreciate you guys all being here today. Just one more reminder that this podcast is all part of Save Point Ministries. We're a larger organization that has the goal of helping people with nerdy hobbies, helping nerds find nerd-friendly churches. There's a lot of church hurt out there from people who were told that Magic the Gathering is sinful or that video games are a waste of time or whatever else.
And they're right.
And so we help people find churches where these things are not only allowed, but celebrated, and they're loved for their hobbies. And it's a place where they can have these hobbies, but also draw closer to Christ. So if you would love to learn more about us, you can follow that link in the chat. With that being said, we love that each and every single one of you are here today, but always remember that there is a church out there that would love it even more if you were there. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.